when you see too clearly and why that's the most dangerous thing. Welcome to Alan Watts' Mind, a place where we share timeless lessons on the art of living, letting go, and understanding yourself through the profound philosophy of Alan Watts. Alan Watts was a British philosopher who helped the Western world understand the beauty of Eastern thought, the wisdom of stillness, egolessness, and the quiet freedom found in each passing moment. If you love seeing life from a deeper, gentler perspective, please like this video and subscribe to the channel and more proop, so together we can listen, reflect, and explore the intelligence of awareness every week. Today, we'll dive into a fascinating question: why seeing too clearly might be the most dangerous thing of all. There are people who walk into a room and immediately feel everything: the air, the glances, the silences that others overlook. They don't need words to know that something is off between two people. They notice that one smile is slightly forced, one sentence slightly false, and they can sense a vague sadness hiding beneath the noise of laughter. Society calls it a gift, strong intuition, deep empathy, a sensitive soul. But what if that gift is also the very thing that hurts you the most? What if seeing too clearly doesn't just make you wiser, but makes it impossible to live the way most people do? Because the clearer you see, the harder it becomes to play the game the world is playing. The game of polite smiles, small talk, and I'm fines that keep everything calm. Those who see clearly cannot pretend. They can't smile when they feel sadness in another's eyes. They can't say it's okay when they know, deep down, it isn't. And so, slowly, they drift away from the rhythm of the collective trance that most people move within. There's a paradox in this. The clearer your mind, the lonelier your heart can feel. The deeper your perception, the harder it becomes to find a place where you truly belong. Because this world runs on a thin mist of pretending. Pretending to be happy to keep the peace, pretending not to know to avoid responsibility, pretending to be okay so no one has to worry. But when you have eyes that can see through that mist, you see another picture, raw, unfiltered, sometimes beautiful, sometimes terrifying. The truth is, people need a bit of illusion to survive. They need to believe that things are fine, that the smiles are real, that friendship, love, and kindness remain intact. If you look too deeply, you can shatter that fragile belief. And when that happens, people don't know how to face you. They fear you, because in your eyes, they see the parts of themselves they've tried to hide. To feel too much is both beautiful and terrifying. It makes you gentle, perceptive, and profoundly human. But it also makes you vulnerable to the core. You see the world more truthfully, but you carry the weight of that truth alone. And sometimes, in the very moment you understand everything most clearly, you wish you could go back. To the bliss of not knowing, to the peace of those who cannot see. Picture a party. People laughing, chatting, glasses clinking. One person compliments the food, another tells an old story, and if you just glance around, it all looks joyful. But if you pause for a few seconds, you'll start to notice the small hesitations between smiles. The way someone's eyes drift when they hear a familiar name, the stiff nod that follows a polite, "How have you been?" This world is a delicate play, so well rehearsed that everyone knows the rules. But no one admits they're acting. We greet each other by script, retell old stories as if hearing them for the first time, and compliment one another just to keep the air comfortable. No one really wants to go deeper. Because the deeper you go, the more likely you'll touch what's been buried. And then, there's you. The one who notices the cracks beneath the polished surface. You see the husband gently holding his wife's hand, while his gaze wanders somewhere else. You feel the loneliness of the coworker, who's laughing too loudly in the crowd. You hear the silent sigh, the kind only those who've quietly suffered can recognize. And once you've seen it, you can't unsee it. You can't close your eyes and return to the easy comfort of pretending. It's like waking from a dream. You can't crawl back into it, no matter how sweet it was. The world runs on that thin shell of, I'm fine. And when you stop playing along, you suddenly become out of sync. When you speak truth, they say you're heavy. When you stay quiet, they say you're distant. Whichever you choose, you no longer fit, because you've stepped off the stage, while everyone else is still performing. They call it the isolation of the awakened. Not because you have no friends, but because you live in another layer of awareness, where everything is too clear to pretend, to believe what everyone else still believes. You become an outsider, seeing, understanding, and quietly aching. But perhaps the truth is this: living in a world stripped of illusion is not a tragedy. It's the first test of clarity. And it asks you one simple question: can you still love humanity after seeing all its weakness, pretense, and pain? The cost of silence, or of speaking the truth. Once you begin to see clearly, life places you before a difficult choice: to speak what you see, or to stay silent for the sake of peace. If you choose to speak, be ready for the backlash. People will not thank you for your honesty. They'll call you negative, too sensitive, too intense. Because the truth always cracks the mirror they use to see themselves each day. And when they're not ready to face that crack, they'll turn on you and blame you for breaking it. But if you choose silence, the price isn't any cheaper. Every time you swallow a truth, every time you pretend not to know what you know, you betray your own perception, and slowly, two worlds begin to form inside you. One that knows exactly what's happening, and another that must live as if it doesn't. Between the two lies an empty space, the fracture within the soul. You start doubting yourself. Maybe I'm overthinking. Maybe I misread things. Maybe it's better to just smile like everyone else. But deep down, you know there's no going back. Once you've tasted the rawness of awareness, everything fake becomes hard to swallow. I once met a woman like that. She could see right through people, so deeply that anyone standing before her felt completely exposed. She never judged, only observed. And slowly, her friends began to distance themselves. No one said it aloud, but they all felt uneasy around her, as if every word they spoke was being reflected back by an invisible mirror. They said she was too sensitive, too complicated, that she didn't know how to just let things go and enjoy life like normal people. But she never chose to see that clearly. Just as someone with keen hearing cannot choose to stop listening, one with open eyes cannot choose to go blind. She simply lived with that vision and learned, slowly, how to bear it. The real cost of truth is not whether you dare to speak it, but whether you can live with what you've seen. Between silence and truth, there is no easy choice. Speak, and you might lose others. Stay silent, and you'll slowly lose yourself. And, perhaps the greatest tragedy of the awakened is not being misunderstood, but learning how to live in a world where truth is the last thing people want to hear. When others fear the truth, there's a strange phenomenon in life. The first person to speak the truth is often the one most hated for it. Not because they're wrong, but because they make others feel exposed. When you say aloud what everyone secretly knows but refuses to admit, you pull back the curtain that hides their fragile sense of peace. And, instead of looking at what's wrong, people look at you and decide that you are the problem. Those who see clearly always bear an invisible punishment. They're labeled complicated, negative, divisive, too suspicious. It's society's clever defense mechanism. If they can convince you that your perception is wrong, they'll never have to face the truth you see. Imagine a theater performance running perfectly. The actors are flawless. The audience applauds. Then, suddenly, someone in the crowd stands up and says, "Wait, they're just acting." The room falls silent, then turns hostile. No one wants the illusion shattered. No one wants to be pulled out of the dream they're comfortably living in. The one who sees clearly becomes the dream breaker. They don't mean to, but their very presence is like a mirror that makes others uneasy. In their eyes, people glimpse the truth they've been avoiding, and they instinctively defend themselves. With polite words, with distance, with the cold smile of self-protection. You'll hear things like, "You overthink," "You're being too negative," "You're just too sensitive." Those words sound harmless, but they are quiet knives cutting you away from your own clarity. They plant seeds of doubt. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I imagined it. That is the most dangerous moment, when the one who sees begins to doubt their own eyes. Because once you stop trusting your deepest perception, you start living by the rhythm of others' blindness. You'll smile, nod, and pretend you don't see. But the cost of fitting in again is losing who you truly are. In this world, the one who dares to speak truth is often called the problem. The one who looks straight into the darkness is often blamed for creating it. It's the herd's instinct. They need someone to blame, so they don't have to face the parts of themselves they're not yet ready to see. And if you are someone who carries light, remember this: light always hurts the eyes before it helps them see. A kind of fatigue no sleep can heal. There is a kind of exhaustion no amount of sleep can cure. The weariness of those who feel too deeply. You walk into a room, feeling fine at first. But within minutes, your chest tightens, your heart grows heavy, and you don't know why you suddenly want to leave. You can't explain it. You just feel as if the sadness in the air has seeped into you. Those who see clearly are often the same ones who feel deeply. They don't just see with their eyes, they feel with their hearts. A fleeting glance, a subtle change in someone's breath, and they already sense that something isn't right. But because of that sensitivity, they are also more easily wounded than anyone else. Every emotion they touch, they don't just notice it, they absorb it. They carry other people's worries inside them. They ache for sorrows that aren't their own. And slowly, they lose the ability to tell where their feelings end and the world's begin. Living inside such a mind is not easy. It's like standing in the middle of a crowded marketplace. Every sound, every emotion, every vibration, rushing in at once. You can't turn down the volume. You can't shut the door. And, little by little, you forget the sound of your own voice. Many describe this as a feeling of dissolving. They say, I don't even know who I am anymore. Because when you feel too much for others, you gradually lose connection with yourself. You become a mirror, reflecting everything around you, but can no longer see your own face in it. The cruel part is, society doesn't see it. On the outside, you still smile, work, listen, as if everything is fine. Only you know how drained you really are. Not because you're weak, but because you've been feeling too much for too long. Like a sponge, you soak it all in. Until one day, you're too heavy to float. And at that point, you don't need more advice. You need stillness. You need air. You need to return to yourself. Not as someone else's reflection, but as who you truly are. Sensitivity is not a curse, but without boundaries, it becomes an undertow. And that's why those who see clearly must learn a higher art. The art of seeing without fixing and feeling without carrying. Learning to see without fixing. When your awareness expands, your first instinct is almost always the same. To help, to fix, to make things better. You see someone in pain and want to comfort them. You notice something wrong and want to point it out. You watch people living in illusion and want to wake them up. But the more you try, the more you realize a painful truth. Many things in life don't need and shouldn't be fixed by you. Imagine walking by a small river. After the rain, the water is muddy, filled with leaves and silt. You bend down, feel uneasy, and think you should do something. So you reach in and stir the water, hoping to clear it. But the more you stir, the murkier it gets. And then you understand some things only need to be left alone. Given time, they will settle and clear on their own. People are the same. You might see fear in their eyes, notice self-deception in their words, or recognize the loops of suffering they keep repeating. But if you try to fix them before they are ready, you only muddy the waters of their soul and your own. Wisdom isn't found in knowing everything, but in seeing clearly without reacting. Knowing when to speak and when to stay silent. Understanding that truth doesn't need to be forced. It spreads naturally when someone is ready to see it. When you stop trying to save everyone, everything feels lighter. The world no longer looks like a list of problems to solve, but like a river quietly finding its own way back to clarity. You just stand at the bank, watching, keeping your own heart still and unclouded. And here's the paradox. When you stop trying to change others, your presence itself begins to have real influence. People feel safe around you. They don't feel pushed to wake up or forced to face what they're not ready to face. You simply are there, like a clear mirror, reflecting without judgment. That is the essence of true compassion. Not intervention, but unconditional understanding. You see clearly, but don't possess. You feel deeply, but don't carry. You understand, but don't control. And then you realize something beautiful. When you stop trying to change the world, you begin to truly change it, simply through the peace you bring, with every breath you take. The art of living with open eyes. Living with open eyes is one of the hardest arts to master, because once you've seen the world as it truly is, its beauty and its deceit, its love and its fear, you can never return to the innocent ease you once knew. Yet, that very moment invites you into a deeper peace, a peace that exists within awareness, not within illusion. Clarity doesn't demand that you withdraw from the world. It simply teaches you how to stand steady within it, without losing yourself. You can walk among those still absorbed in their own plays, still love them, still smile, but no longer get caught up in every role they perform. You see, you understand, and you allow everything to simply be. And when you meet another who also sees clearly, Someone sensitive enough to feel without fear, awake enough to understand without fixing, and deep enough to love without possessing. You realize you were never truly alone. There are other souls awakening in this same long night, small lights quietly kindling one another, gently, patiently, without noise, but bright enough to soften the darkness all around. That is the true hope of the awakened mind. That clarity is not a burden, but a gift, a light you carry within, shining softly, never forcing anyone to wake, simply waiting, so that when someone is ready to open their eyes, the light has already been there, waiting for them. To live with open eyes is to see without fear, to understand without fixing, and to love without holding. It is not an escape from the world, but a return to it, in silence, in freedom, and in the profound acceptance that the world is already perfect, even in its imperfections. If you've ever felt that you see too much or feel too deeply, know this: you are not alone. There are others awake in this same night, quietly seeing, quietly understanding, and quietly loving this world in the deepest way. And if these words resonate with you, please like and subscribe, so together we can keep learning the art of living with open eyes, to stay awake in a dreaming world, to understand without judging, and to love without needing to fix.